Hello and welcome back to the Nasty Metal Preacher channel here at YouTube, and welcome to another album review. So here we go with, of course, Friday's album review, and of course for Friday's album review is, of course, a band I wasn't very familiar with until I decided to check this album out. This, of course, is Starblind out of Sweden. Of course, this is their fourth full-length album. That's, of course, is titled Black Bubbling Ooze, and it was released through Pure Steel Records on July 31st of this year. So, Starblind, again, I think I already stated they are out of Sweden, though Stockholm, Sweden, and they were, of course, were formed back in 2013. And so, of course, this is their fourth full-length album, their very first full-length album titled Darkest Horrors, actually, looking on the Metal Archives page, was released on 2014. So, as far as when it comes to even themes, it seems like their themes are all horror story. And of course, I mean, this album here is titled Black Bubbling Ooze, and also looking at some of the past, as I mean, already stated their very first album, which was titled Darkest Horrors. And then, of course, in 2015, they released their second album, which was then titled Dying Sun. And of course, in 2017, well, their third full-length album titled Never Seen Again. So, I mean, just looking by some of these is, for sure, just definitely, definitely can tell just by the titles, for sure, even would give at least one person who is very new to this band the hint that their lyrical themes definitely are, for sure, horror-themed. So, I'm trying to think of anything else. Is that all that I can look at? Is that all that there is when it comes to at least information and so on? Well, I guess that is. I guess there, in many ways, it's then on to the actual album itself. So here we go. Let's go into the album, which is Black Bubbling Ooze. So here we go. Before we kick off to any of the reviews and for this album, let's definitely go through a lot of the track listing for here. Again, there's about 8 songs here, and everything, of course, clocks in at 35 minutes here. But as far as the song listing, it goes from this. Track number 1 is titled One of Us. Track number 2 is At the Mountains of Madness. Track number 3 is Here I Am. Track number 4 is Crystal Tears. Track number 5, The Man of the Crowd. Track number 6 is Room 101. Track number 7 is, of course, The Reckoning. And the very last track, track number 8, is The Young Man. I should definitely point out that the songs At the Mountain of Madness and Crystal Tears are re-recordings, which again are taken straight from their very first album, Darkest Horrors. So they are re-recorded for this album. So, Black Bubbling Ooze. Well, let's definitely put it out there, okay? Let's definitely put it out there. There is definitely a huge Iron Maiden influence surging through this album, and it's especially apparent in the songs such as the opener, One of Us, At the Mountain of Madness, and again, the song Out in the Madness, for definitely an example here, and this is definitely especially, this track right here has a huge long-distance runner feel to this song. The comparisons are so fucking true with this track here. Definitely, and again, it's a good track. I've never again, this is the only album I heard from Starblind, and so I haven't heard the very first album, but just upon hearing the riff for this is very much, again, it's got them long-distance runners comparison. And of course, the song Room 101, this also has a sound that, again, sounds like something that would fit very much perfect on Somewhere in Time. This really has that kind of feel to it. I mean, this and At the Mountain of Madness would not be too far off from being put in place within an album such as Somewhere in Time. It's got that. However, the very last song on the album, The Young Man, holy shit, would this fit perfectly on Seventh Son of a Seventh Son? Goddamn, it just has that Seventh Son of a Seventh Son feel. I kind of forgot the song, at least, that I would compare it to. I know the riff. I think for anyone that actually goes into and actually listens to this album and gets to the very last song, The Young Man, would immediately would catch the riff that they're obviously are playing off of when it comes to at least comparing to any song off of Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. I feel it's the last song on that album. I don't have it with me, and right now I don't have very good memory of the very last song, but I just know that goddamn riff and everything. It just sounds very much in line that could have been on something on Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. Definitely not a bad song. But this album isn't really all Iron Maiden worship. Again, there's plenty of at least some cool stuff within this album. I think maybe a song like The Man of the Crowd or maybe Here I Am, I think might kind of seem to really kind of more distinctive in terms of stuff, but there is definitely, again, I mean, it's very apparent there's a lot of that Iron Maiden influence going on through this album. It's for sure. This is definitely a cool listen with some great riffs here and there, and vocals here to me, who of course, which is all done by singer Marcus S. Okerlund, all right, just to at least to basically correct myself there with his when trying to say his name there and so on. His vocals here, I've seen some people really compare him a lot to Bruce Dickinson. However, I hear a lot more of ambitious Oscar Jacobson than I really hear Bruce Dickinson. So that's all I can say when it comes to at least to basically kind of to really kind of separating at least a bit of the comparisons to Iron Maiden. Even though definitely he's got that great voice and so on, that is also very similar to Bruce Dickinson, but I would say his vibrato is a lot more Oscar Jacobson than really Bruce Dickinson. But again, he just has a great voice that definitely in many ways elevates most of these 8 songs on this album, and that is for sure. So there we have this Black Bubbling Ooze, and of course my rating here is it's a solid 8 out of 10. All right, I'm gonna give it, again, I'm giving it an 8 out of 10 because I think this is definitely a fun listen. I mean, yes, for one of those who probably goes into this album are obviously going to be hit with them Iron Maiden comparisons. They're going to be hit with that, and they're obviously are not going to get away from it. Obviously, when it comes to each riff on this album, I've heard that on that one Iron Maiden album. I've heard on there. I've heard on here. Oh, that this has this, and that. You know, you're obviously are going to get that. But as far as when it comes to the constructing and the way that it at least it's done, there's at least a little bit of something that definitely kind of at least separates a little bit of them from Iron Man and doesn't completely make them completely worshipping everything that Iron Maiden did in the past. I mean, yes, this album does have a very similar feel with albums such as Somewhere in Time and Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, and that's definitely for sure. I mean, though, the production on this album is a lot better, I mean, compared to at least Somewhere in Time and Seventh Son of Seventh Son. It's at least got more of a beefier, more honed down, more, again, more heavier production, and a little more raw, and again, more biting guitar tones than compared to those 2 albums. But as far as the constructing some of the riffs, I mean, yes, you can make a lot of comparisons to that. But overall, I don't want to completely make this at least about, you know, how they sound like Iron Man and so on. I think this is definitely a fine album for this band, and at least from my introduction, I think this is a pretty good album. Definitely for all of those who who are familiar with this band and did check this album out, definitely let me know what you thought. Again, this album has been out since July 31st, so definitely let me know what you thought. But if you are very much not familiar with this band, I am going to leave you a link to, of course, Pure Steel Records Bandcamp page, and the link is going to be to, of course, the Starblind album, so you can actually check out that album and see if it's really worth something you like. Who knows, you may have already heard this one on New Wave or Traditional Heavy Metal's band YouTube page here. Full albums or something. It's New Wave or Traditional Heavy Metal. New full albums or so on. I think that's what it was titled. Sorry if I kind of ruined the name there. Anyways, so with that, I hope you all enjoyed. This is Flashlight Sam out, and I'll see y'all later. Take care, everyone.